And welcome back, everybody. This is the Refresh Point. My name is Ben, and as always, I'm joined by my constant co-host and world champ, Steve. Steve, how's it going?
Good, as long as we don't say that every time we start the episode.
I mean...
My modesty gets the best of me once again, yes.
Well, I'm going to run this at least one more time.
It was a hopeful ask, not anything else. I'm feeling good. We're at my favorite part of the Weiss season. The part where we can kind of relax a little bit. Play some more casual Weiss. Some more...
Slightly, he says, as he's about to take his world's winning deck list to the next team's event.
Sure, but that's why I said slightly. You know, at locals, we can kind of...
That's true, though.
We can cook up a little bit, you know?
That's true. We are cooking. Yeah. We are cooking. We're both in the kitchen.
That's right.
You know, we've got a bunch of commissions that we'll be talking about. I am cooking entirely too much with Revue Starlight, and now that we've had our hands on it, we're gonna go over Chainsaw Man as the deck of the week. It's pretty obvious why. It's the boogeyman, the new devil, as it is, around the streets. So go ahead, shuffle your decks, tap or cut. We'll get right into the Refresh Point with some breaking news. There is no news. We did it, lads. Nothing happened.
With the longest breaking news of all time, followed by the shortest breaking news of all time.
True. We're actually recording right now. As we're recording, BSF Ontario is happening. So good luck to all the Cali players. By the time this gets uploaded, you will have found out who won and who lost, and we will too.
Yeah,
just not for right now at this exact moment.
Yeah, we're getting the we're getting the start of the less competitive but definitely still competitive season. The teams format, which if you're unfamiliar, each team is comprised of 3 different sets, and it's best 2 of 3 basically inside of your team. So good chance to group up with some of your Weiss friends and play some competitive matches as a team. Yeah, which we love.
Yeah. Actually, some news. It is double loss at end of time during the Swiss rounds of Springfest this year.
Yeah, so they did a rules change that was announced a while ago, but probably hasn't affected you much until now. 5 more minutes were added to every single round, so now you have 35 minutes instead of 30. But now when it goes to time, it's double loss. So you will, if you were one of those players that's bumping against the time limit all the time, you might consider playing some practice matches with a timer to try and gauge where you're at.
There was, I'll go see if I can try to find it and link it in the description. Somebody made a good graphic about how it works.
Yeah.
But essentially, with the new double loss rules, if there's a win on both sides and the third one is a double loss, you are now both double lost. Congratulations.
Oof, good God.
If there is 1 win and 2 double losses, the team that has the 1 win
wins.
Has 1 win.
Yeah. Whoever's got the most wins.
Yeah.
Unless nobody has the most wins, then you both lose.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me logically, but good gravy. That is just... Do not go to time is the moral of the story.
Please don't go to time.
Weiss is
please.
We're in a fairly expedient, aggressive meta in Weiss right now. So you shouldn't go up against time anyway, assuming you're comfortable with the game and comfortable with your deck. But
just please don't.
Just don't. Yeah, like if you need to read cards, read them while your opponent's like doing stuff with them. Don't ask to read every card that they add into their hand unless it's like a backup or something that might be relevant during your turn. But when my opponent adds zeros to their hand, I'm like, it's fine. Even if I don't know what they do, you're gonna play it at some point and I can read it. That's it. So use your time wisely is what we're saying.
Please don't go to time. That shit is cringe. Just play it.
Yeah,
just play.
It is hard. It is hard for newer players, but
it is hard for newer players. It is, to be fair.
And also at Springfest, you see a bunch more wild stuff. Like there may be a few more cards to read, but
still,
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Try your best. because double losses.
If you're playing a soul wall, like, I hate you. Like,
double losses do feel bad. So
like,
yeah,
just don't.
5 more minutes is basically
don't
half
double
of the
loss.
overtime you had before, though. So like, unless you're getting to the end of overtime every game, like, you've probably got nothing to worry about.
Probably. But yeah, and so, it's time for some ambitious deck building.
Yeah.
We got commissions. We got a fucking bunch of commissions, actually. So to wrap up one of the last commissions, just a quick report back on the slime standby stock soul. Yep.
Still good.
Yep.
Still good.
Just works.
Yep.
Kind of just works. You have Rammus with the standby thing so that you can have empty lanes and they have reverse targets, and then you move up the guy, and then or you have the Shuna, or actually no, this list was playing not with Shuna because
you don't want it.
Yeah, you just don't want it. You like have reverse targets, you stand by the combo, you jam the stock soul, you memory 2 or 3 of their climaxes, and you jam double Xion,
and then they lose.
And then they lose.
It's one of those decks that if it can't do the thing, it's gonna feel real bad.
Yeah.
But it frequently can do the thing.
It's actually not that hard for it to do the thing.
What kind of power is that flirting with?
You're gonna swing it like the funny thing is you lose to Muron.
Yeah.
For sure. It's like a 9k 9-5 for the most part.
So yeah.
So you're gonna lose to Muron, funnily enough.
And our deck of the week may provide some challenging gameplay moves also.
Yeah.
But everybody else, here's the thing. You just need to not be there. If you think that you can't hold this thing off, just run it in. Just run it in. Let that stuff go. Because I promise what will make you lose is refreshing 4 against a guy that's like burn 4. Like you just die. You take everything.
It's honestly highly funny how it goes.
Yeah. Like if you refresh 6 and like they steal 2, the game still feels possible. But if it gets off the rails even a little bit and then they start removing climaxes, it feels so doomed.
Like if you have a climax get stuck in stock, 1 in hand, they memory 2.
If you were gonna refresh 6 and then you end up refreshing 4, like just it's bad.
It's
I lost
rough.
to it several times, like in that same game state where it was just like, it looks like I'm gonna refresh 6, and then they double it, and I'm like, it looks like I'm gonna lose this game because, like,
yeah, it turns out, guys, double Xion.
Playing with half of your climaxes is hard.
Yeah,
can confirm.
Also, double Xion into a deck with 4 climaxes in it is good enough.
Yeah, any burn 4 into like any amount of reach into a low climax deck. I mean, we know how that goes normally.
Yeah.
When you actually don't have any climaxes, it's even worse somehow because any RNG that happens into your 4 climax deck feels very bad. So
yes, yeah.
That deck's anything with Muron. Anything with Muron.
No, it doesn't even have Muron. Remember?
Oh,
this is standby stock soul.
Yeah. It feels like a lot of stuff
it's just
will work.
slime.
Slime just has a lot of stuff that'll work.
We have a finisher that doesn't need a climax that you can pull off. Several.
Yeah.
But this one with massive reach for a whole 6 stock.
Yeah.
And you need a full hand, but like, I mean,
standby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you really need all that much to get there?
It's really tough to overcome like what slime offers with anything that's even like remotely mid tier. They just honestly, do so much like on the board.
Yeah, like playing this list really made me realize like how good just slime would still be anyway. Like
it doesn't matter
nothing.
what they restrict. It doesn't matter what they restrict.
Like it's still gonna be good. Like,
unless they delete half the cards, like there's no way. You could ban Shuna and you'd still have a good deck. You could ban Muron and Shuna and still have a good deck.
Yeah.
You could ban one of their finishers or 2 of their finishers and you would still have an okay deck. Like it's impossible to wheel that deck in a way where like it isn't good. Like unlike Alice, where like there was one brick holding up the entire pyramid, and then they flicked it out of the way, and then the whole castle fell. Yeah, there's no head to cut off. It's a Hydra.
I mean, it's like what are you gonna do? Like you take away the Shuna, so you lose some of the board presence, but we still have this amazing off quote unquote finisher lineup that like
it's not like Miron needs to win on board to do its thing.
Yeah.
It's still just a stock neutral
plus.
hand
Yeah.
plus. Like
Yeah.
it's just that's all it is. Like and 11-5 still wins on the board against a lot of stuff. Like that's just facts.
Also, when you remove Shuna, you add back in potions.
Yeah, we kind of went over like the guts of what would happen, what's gonna happen with that deck eventually. But yeah,
and like
There's
even,
tons
we
of
talked
ways-
about it even like previously. Like Randall, like Shizukatsu was playing like the wind pants.
yeah.
like,
There's
with
tons of ways. There's tons of ways to configure.
There's tons of ways to play this. There's tons of ways.
So
to play this
TLDR,
deck.
you can go troll your friends by using the stock soul to remove all their climaxes and laugh while they lose.
Yeah, it's fun.
All the deck lists that we've been sent, we will or that we've cooked up as part of commissions, we will provide, in the comments and
the
descriptions
description
of
below,
everywhere where this podcast is, so that you too can experiment with our builds and see if we're actually good at this game or if like we're just lying our asses off. But
All right. Next commission that I want to go over. This is I realized that we had it pretty recently.
yeah.
We've been getting more supporters in. Thank you to all of our supporters. Really appreciate it. But that also means that we're getting a lot of ambitious deck commissions. I need to check if if somebody wanted their own deck commission later. But for this one from Bromyos, we saw you at Worlds. Hello again. Thanks for the Guilds of Gear SPs. I did buy them off you, and in return, you've apparently given me $5 back in order to make a deck for you. And you proposed a Kanata Girl list, but also with a 1k 1 soul level 1 combo. And
Is it Mori?
No. So
Yikes.
the original one was Pekora. And
Okay.
so
Okay.
he wanted to update it
Uh.
for Chainsaw Man because we can't reverse with Pekora.
Not with that attitude.
And so he was like, maybe you can try Mume, so we can keep the 6 pants
Sure.
and 2 stock soul lineup.
Yeah.
And we could have a 1k1 and then a Kanagura and just have a whole thing.
What's our prospects for? Can you go over the Mume combo and let us know?
Yeah,
Some people may not be
so,
familiar with that combo.
So the Mume combo is on attack. Check the top. If it's a character, you can add it to your hand. Otherwise, it goes to the waiting room. So if you check a climax, it fails immediately.
Sure.
But the climax goes to
And
the
it
waiting room, I
flushes it.
guess.
Yeah.
And then you get to salvage and discard after that ad.
Okay. So very limited deck speed and relatively like medium selection.
Yeah. Secondarily, we're also playing Kanada in this whole thing. And just playing it off the rip, what I really gotta tell you is that, man, that board condition hurts.
Really?
Like trying to get to the board condition and also having all the pieces and like making it all work and keeping my deck state fine. It's kind of hurt a little bit.
So it's one of those things where
Cause like what happened is, now to be fair, I haven't played a lot of Kanata Gur recently. Or sorry, Kanata X recently.
right.
But when I played it, when it like used to be like the thing around the block, it was like you could spend your whole one game just kind of like sculpting for Kanata, and like you could regularly like pretty like sure like you have clock anchor guys and like you just jam a brainstormer and like you just not worry about it, and like you'll have the full field like every time, like at least double, triple if like we have the helmet and like the full setup for it.
I mean, I've been triple countered plenty of times. It
Yeah.
sucks, but yeah.
Yeah, but like with this list, it feels like you spend too much time sculpting for the Mume first, which to be fair is good enough at sculpting you Kanata pieces.
What's the power on this thing?
It's like a 7k, man.
Okay.
It's not beating over anything,
No.
but like because it's like salvage ditch after the ad, like it's technically good enough at getting you some of the pieces, but like it dies, and so like without kind of like the clock encore setup, then you also end up in a scenario where you're like, okay, well, if I want triple, no, unless I hit this brainstorm right now.
It's one of those things. It's one of those cards that feels like it's better in decks that have very high deck speed, and this deck doesn't.
No.
And the problem is that the Gura package forces you to cram in a bunch of stuff that you may not want.
You have to play it. Yeah, it's like 4 Inas and like 4 of the Iroha Brainstorm, which is so grief. Like the Iroha Brainstorm feels so grief as well because you want blue, and then you want green, but your Brainstormer is yellow, so you also kind of want yellow. And like this list is also playing the draw Brainstorm that's mill 5 that like powers the Canada, but
the Coco.
Yeah, but even so, it's like
you still have to run the Ura. You have no choice because like we need trigger saturation, otherwise the Gura falls flat.
Yeah, and because like Gura demands like all of the triggers, like it just feels so clunky, man.
I think that there's probably the 0 game is probably where you have to look to try and like improve this, and I think the areas of improvement need to be in the area of deck speed.
Yeah, I think I need to run more of like the On Death Akatsuki
or the Aki. It's like pay 1 and clock when it dies to like check 3 or
really?
Is it no, or is it? I don't remember. Yeah,
but then it gets into color fuckery too. It's like,
well, those are all green. So
well, no, that one's the Akira is just salvage.
Is it just salvage?
Yeah, it's not deck speed.
Never mind.
Like if we went deck speed, we would play more of just the Fubuki Akatsuki. Realistically.
Yeah, the Fubuki seems fine. We definitely need something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
weird. It feels weird.
Having Aqua like makes the setup a little easier in terms of colors.
Yeah.
But the core problem is that Mume combo feels pretty gross if there's nothing in the waiting room that you want to pick up. So you either need ways to generate more stock, or you need ways to generate like so that you can brainstorm more, or you need more like free ways to. And the On Death Akatsuki feels super reasonable in a deck like this because there are tons of level 1+ pieces that you want to pick up. It also gives power on play, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, maybe that needs to be examined, just for like raw utility.
But like, yeah, it's like the slots that we have for utility just feel super slim because we jam 4 Inas.
Yeah. That's another part of it, right? It's like you lose some 0 flexibility because you're forced to run a whole bunch of Inas, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Ina intrinsically. It's just another piece of clunk that reduces your flexibility.
Yeah, like I desperately kind of wanted Reina, like in this list in general.
Yeah, I don't think you can afford it.
But yeah, you can't.
I think, and what ends up going is probably Mio.
Yeah.
Like Mio has to become Fubuki, and then you have 3, and so you question mark. I don't know.
It's like enough.
You can try.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then maybe you can't.
Weird feeling. It's weird feeling, man. It's so many.
34 triggers is a shitload. So
no, because it's the stock. They're fake. The stock. It counts the stock soul as 2.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay, so 30.
It's 32.
32 is still more than I had in my Worlds deck. So
okay. And there you go.
It's not a bad number. Just because there's more high level cards than
Yeah. Because we were playing like the whole Kanata package, but it's like I kind of want to cut like the punch down to like 3 maybe, but at the same time it's like
the anti-early punch goes first probably. But,
oh yeah, true.
But yeah, it's tricky either way because you lose a trigger. But again, I think 31+ triggers is all well and good as long as you keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you have to do when you start playing Gura decks a lot, is that you have to eyeball the trigger count all the time. But when it's going back late in the game, you're like, okay, whatever you think your last shuffle in is gonna be, count that shit, because that'll tell you like what your reasonability is in terms of like, is this Gura gonna do the thing? Or do I need to sculpt for Ina to try and peek at it? Like that's kind of the deal.
Yeah. Slightly skill issue on my part. I just haven't played a Kaneda list in a while, and this is a clunky Kaneda list, which does not help.
I think Kaneda in general suffers from a little bit of clunk just because of the way the deck plays, but yeah, we've added a whole layer of it.
Yeah.
I'll get my own shot at clunky Kaneda
in just a moment. Yeah. But yeah, so Bromyos, word, you can try it. I don't really know how else to really hack at it. I think we definitely both think that just like vanilla Caligura is better overall.
I think
if you want to play a 1k1 soul into Gura.
I think it's possible to play Kaneda X into the meta, and even Kaneda Gura into the meta, but I just wouldn't try to wiggle another combo into it. Probably I would just either like focus on the level 1 like blue game that gives you a free advantage, or just play it the old way and then put some field bombs in to deal with Spy and Chainsaw Man. And
like Ina and Pekora from set 3 with like what is it, the Ina that accelerates for advantage, and then the Pekora that like bombs. Like I think it's a bottom deck bomb.
It also gives power.
And it gives power, so you can make the Ina reverse like better. So like that feels like a very reasonable like early game to lead into the Kaneda, and you can kind of like get away with like.
It still suffers from some of the same problems.
It does.
Like you are gonna have to sculpt some stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but at least Ina has the reasonability of like checking some stuff and giving you like a minor amount of like deck movement, whereas
I mean, Mumei's 1.
It's like 2 cards basically.
Yeah.
Which is tough. That's that's even less than like 2 sigs, which is.
I mean, it's both kind of rough.
Yeah.
I think
either way, you're gonna have to run some deck speed somewhere else in the deck. Otherwise, it's gonna get sticky.
But like when you only run the 2 combos, it feels like you kind of get some slots open up. Well, I guess not, because
you do, and
you do and you don't, because like. If we take away Mumei, then like Ina comes in and Pekora comes in, so it's like.
Well, it's one of those things that's like, Gura is what reduces your flexibility. If you want to gain deck slots, you have to swap out Gura.
Yeah.
Like even this exact same build with Marine would just have more slots to work with.
Yeah.
Because you aren't running Iroha and you're not running Ina ×4, and you're not like you don't have to jam all that stuff in. So, like, you gain deck slots by cutting Gura. I think people underestimate the opportunity cost of Gura. Like, they like the finisher, but what it implies to your deck build is significant. Like, especially in the context of let's also run Kaneda, which has her own, like, 8-card minimum package that has to fit into it.
Realistically, 10?
Yeah, because
like,
we gotta run the climax, of course. So.
Or no, like, it's like 4...
Or Coco.
What is it?
4 counter, 4/3.
4 counter, 4/3.
The climax.
2 helmet.
Yeah, well, but what I mean is like even if just like strictly like the most bare bones version of it,
yeah.
Still need a climax and you need 8 other cards.
Yeah.
Because you just can't trim those cards. Like you can't trim the backup, you can't trim the 3. Like that's not possible. If you will hurt the deck's reliability fundamentally if you reduce either of those cards. So you have to work around those packages. And so if you have Gura occupying 12 slots and Kaneda occupying 8, like you're really starting to bite down on the amount of other cards you can run in the deck and have it still be functional. So
yeah,
I think that's the core intrinsic problem with a build like this. I think getting 4 of the Undead Akatsuki will make the deck better because you'll wheel into stuff more frequently that you actually want, and it'll also give you an opportunity to exchange shit in your hand at a better efficient rate with Mumei, where you will actually see something you might want in the waiting room more than once before the combo ends. So that's pretty good. I think we'll make some adjustments and try to play it more in that style, and I think we might have some better results. But I think there is some intrinsic clunk that comes when you have Kaneda and something, and Kaneda, her finisher, and more. When you go to and more, the more cannot be that many cards because you just don't have deck slots to throw at that. And so whatever the more is, you have to be super cautious about adding. So especially more combos.
Yeah. And so, talking about Kaneda X and taking out Gura, we do have the commission from Dark about using the 4th generation event.
Yeah, so...
we haven't been able to play it yet. We had some kerfuffles with getting the cards in line, but...
Yeah, I absolutely have a build for it, and I'm going to get some... I will have some games with it this weekend. But, yeah, this deck is definitely in that same vein, where it's like Kaneda and Marine and some other stuff. And so the some other stuff is... the event, which doesn't sound like it occupies a lot of deck slots, but it does because it implies some other cards. So
specifically, the Brainstormer, the Runner, and the event itself. The event itself is burn 4 twice.
Yes,
right?
It's pay 4 and discard 3 Hololive characters,
which is a lot,
to burn 4 twice. So, you would think you could just cram 4 of this in and call it good, but the problem is that without its synergy pieces, you really struggle to afford this card. And so our efficiency pieces come in the form of there's a Kaneda Brainstorm that it can gain markers every time it brainstorms. It can gain markers, and then
if you hit the event in the Brainstorm, you can marker a 4th generation character.
Yeah. So you can...
And secondarily, it's also still a salvage Brainstorm.
Right. And so it's fine. Every marker basically reduces the cost of the event by 1, which is good. We like that. It does mean we still have to run a bunch of the event because we need to see it happen. But you can also calculate it a little bit if you do some math on what's left in the deck. The other piece that goes with this is a free runner that...
no, to run away, right?
It is run to yes. If a character's facing it, it can run, and then if it's discarded for the event effect, it counts as 2 characters. So if we basically need to pitch 2 instead of pitching 3, which is a significant. That's the most significant change in terms of
like paying
ways
for cost.
to afford this thing.
Yeah,
we have to have one of these 2 things go right during the game, because having to pay the raw cost of it is hard and will limit your options in your end game greatly. The upside is we have Marine, who's dirt cheap, and we have Kaneda, who generates metric tons of resources of some kind.
Yeah. So like the kind of optimal setup in a sense would be like we get to the end game with like 6 stock and like Marines enough to give, and like the what is it? The Kaneda Brainstorm hit like
1
twice.
1 like 2 feels really lucky. 1 feels like what you're probably gonna get.
Most games. Feels like what you're probably gonna get. That makes triple Marine and
7. Yeah.
7 stock.
7 is possible. Like,
and then you have to ditch the runner and another guy, and then each Marine replaces itself, and then you get the door.
Right.
So that's possible as well.
Yeah. Like it. Getting it to happen feels reasonable, but you do need the mid game to kind of go the way you want. You definitely need at least double Kaneda, and if you get 2 turns of combos, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
But if you don't get 2 turns of combos, then that might be, you might have to play like a scuff turn to try and force 2 turns of combos.
Or realistically, like it might just be that you just play triple Marine and you just don't play the event.
Yeah, or you play the event plus double Marine. Like depends on your reach, right? Like if you need 4s, then I mean,
need 4s.
You need 4s.
What can you say?
Yeah. But there is a reasonable way to try and pull this off. So we're gonna try. The commission specifically said to address Chainsaw Man, so we're gonna play the blue level 1 game that we kind of discussed earlier, where we can on reverse salvage with Ina, and then we can use the Pekora Bomb to get rid of cost 0s on the field to the bottom of the deck. It also gives 1500, so it gets Ina right to the sweet spot of removing 2. Like if you have double Kishibe, it will reverse.
Yeah.
And then if you have the Chainsaw Man changer, it will reverse. So that's kind of 8K is kind of the power we need to get to every single like game. Like that's That's kind of where we need to be. And Ina is 6'5 plus 1500. So she can get there every time. So as long as you get Ina Picora, you should be able to win on the board against triple Kishibe. Or against
well, you win one.
You would win right.
Yeah.
Winning at all is
and bomb the other one.
And bomb,
so,
you're gonna win 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. Like that's a good ask, because as we'll discuss in a little bit, the Chainsaw Man deck does not have a lot of good parts outside of the finisher and like some of the it has some good parts, but there's a whole lot of parts that are just like, especially in the mid game, a whole bunch of its stuff is very whatever, where you're like it definitely is leaning hard on some pieces, and if you knock those pieces out, then like it gets awkward fast, and Kishibe is one of those, especially if you spent time and resources sculpting it. Yeah. Like if you sculpt this thing and then it gets removed, it feels gross.
The weird thing about this 4th event list final, man, we really are trying to master the elements here.
Yeah, so the problem is
the lowest count on a single color is 11.
Yeah, and so kind of the problem here is that, and we may massage some of the zeros to try and make this work better, but the problem is that the 2 pieces that make the event easier are both yellow, and the event is yellow, and nothing else in the deck is yellow, so you have a whole bunch of yellow that's just kind of chilling for no reason. So that's not great. We don't love that.
Yeah.
So it's possible we could finagle some of the colors. Maybe like there's a green climax swapper that we could play.
Yeah.
And like we could.
She's fine.
And like we could reduce that Miko drop search to something.
I don't know, man. Our red's pretty rough. You have Miko drop search and marine. We're already kind of pushing red.
Yeah, that's the other problem, is that there's just not a lot of red.
Yeah.
So you know, maybe we'll see. We're gonna give it our honest first attempt, and we'll see.
We'll do our level best.
But and there might obviously there's gonna be some cooking probably with this deck, but I think there's something. I think this is reasonable. This is more reasonable than the Mume build, in my opinion. Just because.
Sorry, Bromyos.
They're both.
No offense to you. But...
Yeah, they're both occupying a whole bunch of deck slots with their gimmick, but the difference is that the slots being asked here are both level 0 and like flexible, whereas the slots being asked by the Mume deck are not level 0 and not flexible.
Yeah.
So it's a different sort of ask. It's still.
I would almost say that like insert level 1 combo Kanada Marine feels more reasonable in my head than like insert level 1 combo Kanada Gura, just because
Marine just takes nothing.
Marines just takes nothing, and then so like you can have it all in the sense of like you have a good 1 combo, you have a Kanada to like, you know, slam the mid game down and heal down, and then
like if this
Marine is still good.
Like if this Ina build doesn't work, like I'm gonna do 1 iteration, and the iteration will be Okayu. Because Okayu Kanada Marine feels super reasonable.
Right.
In the sense that, like, those are 2 combos that don't take anything. They're on color, like, it's 2 green combos, which is good. That reduces a lot of your clunk. And then you can pick up the event with the Okayu.
True. Yeah. Check 3 ammo. Yeah.
So, there's a possible iteration there. The problem is that Okayu is tiny. And so that'll make your Chainsaw Man / Spy matchups horrible.
Yeah, true.
So we'll see. That's the downside of playing that. The reason I went in this direction is because of the specificity of the ask. But I think that if you were gonna play tri-combo Marine Kanada, then your ask is definitely easier with Okayu. So because Okayu is on bar and just adds cards, very easy. Adds anything.
Yeah.
Which allows for picking up to the Kanada climax. It eases a lot of what makes Kanada hard to pull off.
Yeah.
Because with 2 Kanada climaxes, you can't afford to have them like dip. It becomes very hard.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like I said,
I will say that I do like the idea of 6 pants, 2 stock soul, and that it like like in a sense, like the logic kind of is there because we have 4 climax swappers, we have 6 pants and 2 stock souls. So like theoretically,
you're
like,
never gonna have the wrong climax.
You
but
shouldn't have the wrong
won't
climax.
that won't be
but
the
that's
crux
not the
of the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It solves a problem that isn't happening.
Yeah.
But like, I suppose it's possible that you could struggle. Like, I would run it 3-3-2 first if I thought it was going to be problematic.
I don't think it is. Like,
But,
that's
like
not the
if I saw
problem. The
Kaneda-
problem is like
Yeah.
constructing the Kaneda board in a way that's reasonable.
Yeah,
and that's kind of all it is.
After constructing a level 1 board. And I think that there'll be similar problems with the event build where you're going to need to draw some stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the 0 game is more flexible and will allow for better outcomes overall. You just be broke. Like stock is going to be your biggest enemy. So that Miko may become Rene just out of pure necessity, where it's like, I badly need one of these to go to the stock so that I can pay for stuff.
Yeah, and then after this episode, I guess after Springfest, actually at that point, like Springfest is in like 2 weeks for us.
It is.
Yeah, so after like we'll record again like right before our Springfest.
Yep.
So funny. And right after Springfest, we'll get to our last deck commission that's in the queue.
Yeah.
You're gonna play JoJo's.
I am.
You are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Haven't built it yet.
Yeah.
We'll build it.
Okay. Yeah, and we can talk about it on the next
Focusing
episode.
a little more on Hololive right now, just because it's more mechanically interesting, and I actually own the cards. Or,
No, it's okay. I have the JoJo's cards.
I actually don't own the cards, which is the biggest problem with the 4th Gen event commission. Is that I want to run a bunch of Set 2 cards, and I did not buy Hololive Set 2, so
we have it now. I've been able to run a procurement run.
Yeah,
we got it.
So
it's
turns
okay.
out guy that wins worlds with Hololive doesn't actually own Hololive.
True.
My bad.
You do need to go buy your deck.
I already did.
Borrowed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
All right. So
besides all the commissions, so I like Revue Starlight.
We definitely know that. Our fans should be well aware of that.
Yeah. And 2 people in the BCS fall season got top 8 with Revue Starlight, and I fought one of them. And I just gotta say, I feel like it can be better, and I feel like if some other people can be good enough to take it in the top 8, it has to be good enough to be able to push a win.
Right.
And I want to do that. I want to be the one that does that. And so we clicked a little bit. Currently, what I am on is a standby door list that does not run the strategy of standby a 2/2 beat stick and like move it forward and like try to sit on it and then question mark, set up the door finisher profit.
Right.
Instead, it turns out we do in fact like the 2-1 door combo well enough that if we just resolve more of them throughout the game, we'll get more resources and hopefully be able to kill the enemy, ideally. And so the current idea is basically runs the standby. This list that we're actually looking at right now is slightly outdated. I cut one of the bombs for a 4th of the 2-1.
Sure,
right
but
now.
The core idea is here.
Yeah. The core idea is here. There's a cost 0 level 1 bomb that like check 2 rearrange on play, which makes Kishibe super free. Honestly, it's kind of funny.
It's one of those. We'll
talk about it, but
we're gonna have a little segment on Chainsaw Man. But like the TLDR of Chainsaw Man and Spy is that like winning on the board at level 1 is gonna become a thing again, where you won't be able to just do it. And those 2 decks are going to specialize in pissing you off by not letting you do it.
Yeah.
So it'll
and
be
like what is it? And the standby combo for this list is one that we've actually discussed many times. But once again, it does still feel pretty good whenever we do Yuki once. And honestly, that's kind of like an underrated part of it is that you only do it once, so you only need 1 copy of the 1 combo.
Yeah,
and
the downside is if you have a 2-card hand, this isn't gonna fix it.
Yeah, it's not gonna fix that.
But the upside is you don't have to waste that many cards getting it.
Yeah, And so you can kind of like chill with like your early hand and like just kind of be like, we got the 1/1 combo. We just don't waste other resources and like sculpting down further. We just get that off, get the standby off, stand by the 2/1 combo. You know, next turn, you know, if we're at level 1, whatever, just resolve the door combo at level 1, just plus more. If we're at level 2, great, jam more copies, resolve the door combo, get stock in hand, figure it all out. There's a copy of 2 or less check X, because I find that often the deck refreshes after the 1 combo, so 2 or less becomes like a more tenable early play condition for like searching for stuff.
I like 2 or less early plays for decks that don't have like warp speed.
Yeah.
Like if your deck has warp speed, then you need to consider playing 4 or more, because your refresh points will come in too early. Like if you're refreshing at 1/1 or 1/2, I got bad news. Your 2 or fewer early play ain't gonna happen, because in the combination of the way your deck behaves plus blocking is going to ruin it, spoil it, like most of the time.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into consideration when those are part of your like desired early play stacks.
Yeah.
So the door combo is...
Okay, the door combo is on attack. It's a level 3 Slayer, and then it stalks from Waiting Room. Check the top. If it's the event that salvages the door, it's a 3/1 event that salvages the door or burn 1, or a character, you add it to your hand.
Yeah, so this is on attack draw, basically.
Yeah, on attack draw, stock from Waiting Room.
Also happens to be good against 3s.
Which is like, you know, variable usefulness.
Yeah.
Not super great into... Like, it's a losing deck into slime. Like, you just have to kind of accept that facet of your life.
Yeah, and Chainsaw Man doesn't feel good either.
Really?
It's like okay.
I mean, you just bomb the 1 Kishibe, and then, like... You have like power
still doesn't
pumps.
get over. Yeah, you'd need another card.
I mean, yeah, your Brainstormer gives 500, so it beats over by 500.
Okay, so yeah, like it's just that part of what's annoying about decks like that is that their main plan is always the same, and your main plan has to shift around theirs.
It does have to shift,
and
like,
so it becomes it's good in this sense because you only need 1 combo, so you can concentrate on like using your sculpting resources to try and pick up the field bomb. But if the field bomb won't be had, then it feels kind of gross.
Yeah. I find though that, to be honest, Chainsaw Man feels pretty good with this deck until I reshuffle my last deck and they jam Triple Locky, and I've shuffled 6 climaxes to the bottom 8 cards and I die immediately. Otherwise, like...
Actually, Spy is somehow even worse for this deck because...
Oh, true, yeah.
You're not very good at pushing damage, and they're very good at deleting it.
True.
It's like the field bomb feels very needed.
But it's like only in those 2 matchups.
Yeah,
like,
but those 2 matchups are real matchups.
They are real matchups. This is true.
But that's part of the that's just part of the way the meta works now. Is you're not going to be good against everything. You're just not. Yeah.
So. But like with the 2 field bombs, it kind of feels.
Yeah, you just got to get one.
Yeah, you just kind of got to get one.
It's not a huge ask, but you have to waste some of your sculpting on it. But
the ability to just stand by, also like the assist. That's like check 3 of the opponent, rearrange. Man,
check 3 of the opponent, rearrange is very good because it negates like part of what makes Spy good. But yeah, it's also like the way you step on the accelerator in a standby deck, because you don't have actually like bigger packets.
Yeah.
You like landing more is a reasonable thing, where especially even if you see a climax, you can force it to the top.
Yeah.
And then just like use your worst attack to fish it out, and then go in with your better attacks.
Yep. It feels...
Sculpting your opponent's...
Feels pretty good.
Yeah, sculpting the opponent's top deck for 3.
I'm a big fan of guaranteeing at least 2 damage every single turn. After it comes to the field.
The only time it's like cursed is when you just look at it, you see 2 climaxes, you're like, well...
All right.
I guess this turn sucks.
Yeah, pretty much. But, you know, that's the life. This is a deck that does better the slower the game goes, for sure.
All standby decks feel that way,
all
and
standby decks feel that way.
This one is no exception.
No exception. It's even funnier because if we hit the standby at 2 and we stay at 2, we have this guy that says sacrifice the 2/1 and get the finisher out on the board.
Yeah.
And that heals on play, so like we can, if the game stays slow, it snowballs into like just
a bunch of healing and
bunch of
spamming
healing,
level 3s,
like spam level 3, swing like 5 packets at level 2 into 5 packets at level 3 die plays.
Yeah,
real funny.
There are a number of decks in the meta that feel that way, and where we just got done talking about the Hololive's number one deck that wants to stay at level 2. Where there are a number of decks that if they stay at level 2, the game is going to take a dark turn, and so you have to hope that doesn't happen.
But the thing that I like the most about this deck is that even if you don't stay at level 2, like you have a reasonable 6 packets to throw out. That like if the game was even enough, like. We can try to kill them at 2/5, 2/6, and like it's not unreasonable to kill them.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think I think as long as your finisher has either 6 packets or like high assurance, we'll say, then it feels pretty reasonable as long as you're not trying to reach too far. Yeah. Even with really good finishers, there's a too far, and anything. I don't think we're at the point now where anything above, like, if you're a 2/4 or less, you should feel pretty safe. Like, as long as you don't know that your deck is in a really awkward state. But there's very few finishers in the game that can win from that space. Even the most dangerous finishers.
It's like Gura, but even so, like
you need so much to go right.
Yeah.
It's just even a little lucky blocking will get you through.
Yeah.
It's like if you're against triple Gura, if they block 2 4s, it's like they probably live now, and so it's yeah.
But, this deck, like, I hate freezers so much with this deck, because you kind of like you stand by the assist instead of the actual combo piece. But like the good part about stand by the combo piece is that you paid 1 less, and then it pluses 1 more stock, right? And so like you want that. And to be fair, I'm not gonna say that guaranteeing at least 2 damage every turn is a bad thing, or like checking 3, seeing it's all vanilla, and being like, oh, let's play this bomb that checks my top 2. Take 3, please. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna say that that's bad, but it definitely is like a hindrance, and like those games are always worse than the games where I can just stand by door combos and like fucking just jam them into your face. And so
it's one of those things where the timing of the standby can really change the impact of it. It's like standbying on the first attack never feels good.
It's a deck that is very punishing of bad decisions. And but also very rewarding of like correct decisions in a sense. Like that search with the level 1 Futaba. Those 2 cards that you search, that is like the most important search in the game. If you fuck up this search, the game will like take a dark turn very quickly.
I think that's the hallmark of mid-tier decks.
Yeah.
Is that your decisions are limited and of great importance.
Yeah.
Like the biggest difference to me between Weiss now and Weiss like 5 years ago or 6 years ago is you have fewer decision points. And the impact of them, whether you made them with knowledge or without knowledge, was magnified a lot more. It's like if we only get so many searches per game, then each one of them matters. If we only get so many deck fixes per game, then each one matters a lot more. Now, there are more decision points, but they're less individually punishing. Where it's like small mistakes will still make you lose games and do all the time, but it's hard to throw the entire game all at once, especially early or mid-game, whereas in older Weiss formats, it felt very easy to do, where it's like you just made a wrong play and the whole game spirals out of control.
I will say it is a deck that's it's oddly kind of coin flippy, because it's like, because the the 2-1 door combo is basically on attack draw. Like it kind of digs you towards triggers.
Yeah.
Right. The more you resolve it, even the standby is like searching 2 cards out of the deck, so you're compressing down more, and so it kind of turns into like, if we only trigger like once, then actually our deck stays fairly compressed. But like, we can have games a lot of the time where we're like resolve double door combo, like trigger 2 or 3 times, and now it's like,
now the game's
spooky.
just lost.
Yeah.
It's part of again, like the thing that separates decks that are like A, B tier from decks that are S tier is the tolerance for stuff like that in games. Like your ability to wiggle out of like very awkward game states, and the more tools you have to do it, that's the difference between good and bad decks. Like honestly, there's tons of good finishers in bad decks. There's tons of good 1 combos in bad decks. The biggest hallmark of what makes decks good is the ability to look at a game state and have a card in the deck that's like, yep, I'm just gonna get this and everything will be all right.
I will say that of all of the other review decks, this one does feel like pretty easy to like fix your actual deck state for the most part. We have a 1-0. It's like it's Rene. It's like discard, check X, add. But like when you have a Brainstormer and you have a non-death Akatsuki that says mill 5, like you kind of have enough deck speed for the most part.
Discard and check X is one of the, if your deck has a bunch of like valuable level 0s in specific states, that mechanic feels so overpowering.
Oh, it feels great in this deck.
I just I question whether any of those cards should have secondary abilities that are also good.
It gives 1/5 power. It's actually not irrelevant.
Which is kind of like, I'm kind of fine with that. It's also level 1.
It's a level 1. That's what makes it bad,
when they're
right?
levels,
But still.
when it's Lifa, dude, like it's like it's so hard to misplay it with a card like that. Like it feels impossible. And you can build your deck in such a way that it maximizes your opportunities, because you have this like get out of jail free basically to transform any card in your hand into something either you had that was good or something that you didn't have that was also good.
Yeah.
Like the repeatability of mechanics is the biggest thing that discard to check X like gives you, especially in a deck like this. It's like tilted towards the high level end of things. It's like the chance of you revealing a 3 and getting to add anything is very high. So, and even a 2, which will add like 75% of the cards in the deck.
Yeah.
So that's just, that mechanic feels very good in decks that are more top heavy. It's just overpowering at times. Yeah.
So the ability to like have a really good like the ceiling of it, of like being able to have like a slow roll game and like just resolve the finisher at 2 and heal down into like resolve it again at 3 and like just execute.
That's the Overlord dream, man.
It is. But like I like this list the most out of the other ones because you have that potential, but then it still pretty consistently sets up 6 packets at 3.
Sure.
Even if you have like a rush game, like you'll get it.
It's still doable.
Yeah.
Well, I think that
we'll do our level best.
I think that Revue has had a number of like reasonable builds that can work.
We've got our strongest soldiers out here. We did the math, I think me and another like Revue player like just counted. We're like, all right, what are all the Revue players that we know of? I think we ended up there are at least in this world right now confirmed 10 Revue Starlight players. 2 of them have made top 8.
I mean, I definitely know a couple of them, but
3 of them are in Dallas.
But we'll see. We'll see. Like, this is the type of deck that shows up at Springfest all the time. So
I'm gonna do my level best to top.
All right,
we'll see. Need a lot of things to go well, and I need to like learn a deck that's not slime, which I've been playing for like 9 months. So that's honestly like in terms of like playing all these ambitious decks and like trying to gauge it, the biggest thing for me has been like, oh yeah, I've been playing slime for forever, and now I'm like trying to like learn a deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's very challenging to just pick up another deck.
Yep. Especially one that is strictly worse. But that's the life. But going on to a deck that's better, here's our deck of the week. It's Chainsaw Man. Surprise.
Yeah, we're gonna need to talk about Chainsaw Man a little bit, because Chainsaw Man is gonna be your new Overlord, the new Attack on Titan, the new Name a Boogeyman. Like, this is gonna be the deck that no one wants to face.
Or,
yes, Gura, or however you want to think of it.
Whatever, man.
A deck with very, like, difficult play patterns to manage for your opponent, that is also extremely unique in the way it executes, and you will grow to hate how just overwhelming their finisher is. So let's talk about it really quick.
We've talked about this piece a lot throughout the entire podcast, but there is Kishibe, which is a 1-0 that gets 2k for every other copy of Kishibe on the board. It's a 6k base. So if you have 3 Kishibes, it's a 10k. No event, no backup.
You cannot play events or backups.
Yes,
right.
You cannot play events or backups.
Your opponent can.
Your opponent can.
But the reason this card is run is we have a twofold problem in Chainsaw Man from a deck building perspective. The first problem is none of our combos are good. Like, none of our 1 combos are very good. They're all kind of whatever.
I mean,
there's like
Himeno is good.
There's a TD combo, and then there's the power combo, which are both like fine, but not great. And so we want to run a lot of green cards anyway, just because of how the deck plays. And the upside to this thing is 10k. 10k is too big for a level 1. There are no level 1s that are going to reverse this thing consistently. There's just not. Nobody is 10k. So usually your best hope, if you are not playing the mirror, is to bomb one of them off of the field and then attempt to remove an 8k, which also is not easy to remove. Even 8k is a huge ask for a lot of level 1 games. I can think of a half a dozen sets that will never get to 8k. And so they will permanently struggle against this. And so...
But also, you do need to hit 3 Kishibe.
Yeah,
and
it's possible. It's very possible that you won't have 3. But if you make it happen, and they have several tools to do that, then it's really problematic. Like, if you start playing Chainsaw Man, you'll know what matchups you need to try really hard to get it, because your opponent will start to get oppressed in a way that will make it very easy for you to play out the rest of the game.
But then if you know that, like, they can answer the board, then you just don't bother.
You just don't bother. Exactly.
Don't bother.
Like, if their level 1 game is like level 1 bombs or something, then like maybe they're playing Love Live Sunshine or something, then you just don't do it. Like, just try anything else. And
to be fair, there's plenty of ways to try anything else.
Yeah, we have plenty of anything else. So let's talk about the 2 combos that are probably played most frequently for this set. We have another piece of totally uninteractive advantage, which I thought we had learned our lesson after 7DS, but it turns out we haven't. So they decided to print a Brainstorm with a combo, which always works well and is definitely balanced.
Yeah.
So,
we have Himeno, and Himeno says, spammable, Brainstorm, check 3, add 1, and discard, which is already like, so like, it can kind of get its own climax a lot. But the combo is play it, beginning of attack phase, sack the combo, check up to 3 cards, add 2 characters, or the Easy Revenge event.
Right, and so Easy Revenge is going to be a critical part of how this deck behaves. What's good about this combo is it's a stock soul, so you already don't care about power thanks to Kishibe, and so having stock soul available for the majority of the game feels very satisfying, because you know you're going to reverse, and you also know you're going to build an outsized amount of stock.
And even if you don't go into Kishibe, like, we have the power that stocks a guy off the stage, and we can kind of just get an outsized amount of stock.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, so they have a number of ways to reduce extra stock, and they're running all of them. So they have a yellow 0 that pitches 2 characters to look at 2. You can add up to 1 to hand and then put the rest to stock. They also have a power 0 that says when it attacks, you can choose one of your other characters and send it to stock. So if you have a 0 or a 1 that's going to die anyway, you can just flush it into the stock for free value. You do give your opponent damage sometimes in the pursuit of this mechanic, but frequently it's a guy that already died, and so it was already going to be put in the waiting room anyway. You might as well get free advantage off of it.
Yep.
So speaking of easy revenge, we have a few ways to get easy revenge.
We have a bottom deck bomb that ditches a character to search it.
Right.
We can add it off the combo.
Yeah, so we can add it from Secret Alliance, and we can add it from this bomb. And the bomb is, of course, a prime target for the power we just discussed, because you can bomb them and then send the bomb to stock, which is all well and good after you got the easy revenge. So let's talk about easy revenge really quick, because there are a number of cards that interact with easy revenge. So this is a non-optional event. You will need to gain as many copies as you can feasibly play. So easy revenge is a pay 1 to mill 2 and salvage equal to the combined levels, similar to tons and tons of other cards that do that. Then it goes to memory, and it interacts with both of your level 3 characters. So your level 3 early play requires 2 easy revenges in memory, which is a very easy ask. That should happen every single game. There should be no confusion about getting that off. Your finisher, which we'll talk about pretty quickly here, just because it's been discussed a lot and everybody's probably aware of Aki at this point. So Aki,
but if you lived under a rock,
yeah,
here's Aki.
So he's on play salvage, so all you need is 1 Aki and some Akis available somewhere, and you can triple combo very easily. And his combo is on attack. He mills the bottom 4 of your opponent's deck, and for every climax revealed, he deals 1 damage, so-called Icy Tail mechanic. However,
but also better for number 1, it's already better because it burns 1 for each rather than burn X for number revealed. So it's better to kind of snipe climaxes in order to try to make way for the vanillas. And secondarily, for each easy revenge that you have in memory, you can, before the Icy Tail,
or after,
take a look at the bottom of their deck and mill it. So if it's clean, we can just dig for the climax on the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, and if it's a climax, then we can hit you with the combo and then dig until we find the next one, and then guarantee that that one's gonna hit, and then dig some more after that. So there's very few ways to keep this combo from hurting you. It's very difficult to have a deck state where you will both block the vanillas and not get absolutely savaged by your entire deck being milled out.
Yeah.
So if you're 2/5 plus and they have triple Aki, it feels dangerous.
Like you would basically have to have it set up where each Icy Tail will mill 1, and every time they scry, they see the climax, so they don't dig anymore. And then you can kind of block off the top.
Yeah, like the upside to this deck is, or the upside to dealing with this finisher is, if you've already comboed off with your own level 3 game and the deck is going back sort of uncompressed, or if the deck is going back sort of uncompressed because you've spent all of your resources and you have like more life to work with, like healing at level 2 is going to be a prime strategy against this deck, because decompressing yourself a bit and getting your HP down is going to be a huge way to keep this card from killing you.
Yeah.
If you're at like 2-3, 2-2, and you have like tons of deck to work with, then it is likely you will survive this. The way you put yourself in the danger zone against this card is compressing hard. Like, you cannot. If you think that they're going to be level 3, you cannot. If you compress too hard, this card will kill you. There is no amount of compression that you can use that will work against this card. And you have
barring like literal like 8 and 10 or whatever.
Even then,
right?
That's like 8 ones. Like, yeah. It's just you'll die to refresh penalties. But like you cannot lean into compression against this card. If you try, it will just kill you. So you need to lean away a little bit. which is fine. There are a lot of decks that can do that. In between Aki and basically your early game level 1 strategies, you have a whole bunch of zeros that have varying utility. And of course, we have the aforementioned Lifa mechanic × 4, where we can.
It doesn't even have a secondary effect.
No,
but
honestly, it doesn't need one.
Yeah,
that's how good Lifa Zero, or that's how good the pitch to salvage X zeros are. Is that they don't even need a second mechanic. What your deck needs to have is a whole bunch of zeros that are useful in specific game states, and this deck has a ton of level zeros that are specific to certain game states. And so being able to discard cards and then reveal and then pick up specific zeros at the time they will be the peak value is never overrated. So that's in there. We have all of the same sort of mechanics that a lot of decks that play brainstorm combos in the back row as their main advantage engine are going to have. We're going to have lots and lots of brainstorms. So we have not only the Himeno combo brainstorm, we also have the Himeno salvage brainstorm, because it can pay 1 and send itself to memory if you're level 2 or higher, and you can get a level 2 or higher character. So you can get your early play, you can get the support, you can get your finisher, you can get whatever off of this thing. You also have a sack brainstorm, similar to the 7DS brainstorm, where you destroy one of your characters and then it taps itself to brainstorm, which can be extremely good in specific instances, because of course, we need to play Easy Revenge, which is an event. Our 1-0 green guy says we can't play events. So at some point, he's going to have to go whenever we want to get the rest of our Easy Revenges down. So you can just send him to the Shadow Realm with the red Brainstormer and gain value, like free cards and deck speed, because it's a check 3 add 1. So we got all that. We have good answers to the board with our level 3 Himeno Bouncer. It's on play. We get to bounce, and then we can also bounce again if we want. And its alarm effect is from alarm during the climax phase, downgrade. So one card gets like all the board answers you will probably ever need against almost anything. So, very good in the slime matchup, very good in any sort of defensive deck matchup, minus souls or bodyguard, or on whenever you opponent reverses, like 8 Standby Hololive will probably hate this Himeno. Like, it's just a very annoying card. It works against most counterplay, so...
And the early play healer gets on reverse, check top. If it's a 1 or higher, go to stock.
Yeah, and our early play healing condition is 2 Easy Revenges in memory, which is extremely easy. That will happen every game. There's just no way it doesn't. So you have all the strategies available to you. You have heal down and compress strategies. We have choke the board strategies. We have anti-compression strategies. We have anti-field strategies. So we're answering a lot of what the meta does very handily with this deck.
And I think after personally playing it, a lot of how it feels like is like it's a deck that can get away with even just not caring about the board a lot. Just because of how much you can plus and like, you know, figure it all out. Like like there are games like even if you're not gonna play towards Kishibe, it's like you'll plus enough. You'll have enough stock. You'll have enough everything. Just field 3 guys and get ready to Aki and jam a stock soul every single turn.
Because the thing is that the stock soul is a plus, raw plus, every time it's played. Like you played a card and got 2 cards. Like that's it. It doesn't have to do anything else. It's in no danger most of the time. It's not 500 power, so there's not like you can't just minus power and get rid of it very easily. So there's let's talk about some of the cards that are like more tech. There's a reward for work Himeno, a card that I'm not playing, but I've definitely seen in many builds. It's another way to plus. It's non-climax. It's a 1-0. It's 6/5 power during your turn, and it's pay 1 and ditch 1 and tap one of your guys, which your brainstorm doesn't tap, so it's always available. We can just tap that. And on reverse, we salvage 2.
Yep.
So we just get to just raw hand fix for reversing. So, and pay dirty stock if we need to.
Yep.
Just a very reasonable card overall.
Yep.
And then there is this is another thing that decks that have the check X, pitch to check X can do, is they can just run one of 7 cards. And this is one of them. There's a 2/1 Aki, which you kind of want on board sometimes, but then you definitely don't need it on board all the time. It gives you 2k to the front of your level 3, so very good in combination with your early play healer. At the beginning of the clock phase or attack phase, if it has a marker and it gets a card called Future Devil as its marker, you can look at the top 3 of your deck and then put them back in the same order. So at the very least, you can gain knowledge about what you're about to trigger, which is good.
Yeah.
It also lets you look at what you're about to clock and draw, which is also good.
And if you trigger a climax, you can discard a climax and heal.
Just for free. Just heal for free. Every time you trigger a bar that you don't need, free HP. Every single time. It's disgusting. The card that it gets as a marker, the Future Devil, is also one of those cards that you probably just never put down on the board except for very unique circumstances, like the mirror. Because it gives 500 to all, which means your 10-5s will now get over their 10Ks if you both get double Kashibe.
Yep.
That's a way you can screw them.
Yep.
Then, the other thing it does is when you place the 2/1, you can, if it's on the board, you just suck right under it as a marker, and then, because we need it to have something else that it does, it goes into your deck, it grabs a character and stocks it to the bottom for free. Why? Who knows? So, the 2/1 support is actually a 2/0 support if you have this thing on, and it gets to scry the top
You
of
actually need this thing to marker for the effects as well.
Yeah. Not the power.
Not the power.
And not the pitch to climax to heal.
True.
Just the check 3, the worst effect it has, you need the marker for. Everything else that it does, it just does. And the marker makes it free, so why not?
Yeah.
And it's a 0. This thing is a 0, which means we can pitch anything to the salvage X or lower, as long as it's in the waiting room, pick it up, put it on the board, then put the 2/1 down, then suck the thing into the 2/1, and then we got all the effects. It's magic. So, there's no struggle to pull this off. If you don't want it, you just don't try. But if the deck's 3 bars, and you're like, I mean, I would like to heal 3 times. That sounds very good. So I don't know. There's a lot of easing in here where things just sort of happen and everything is self-contained and self-supporting.
It's one of the most I don't care about what the enemy board is decks ever.
No, yeah.
It really doesn't. The reason that Kashibe is in the deck isn't because it makes the deck function better, it arguably makes it function worse. But what it does is that it makes decks that can't get over it get just out.
Yeah, if your level 1 has to reverse, abandon all hope, because it's not gonna happen. The only level 1 that needs to reverse that might be able to get over this thing is the Bang Dream one, if after you get it from the waiting room. And give it 5,000 power. Then it can get over. But soul combo? No. No. That is not happening.
Field bombs are technically back in vogue.
Yeah, and so we didn't really
but that's the thing about it as well. It's even if it gets bombed,
you don't even care a little.
It doesn't even matter a single bit.
You're literally if they got all the Kashibes removed, you're 2 easy revenges away from having it right back on the board. It's their effort to replace Kashibe versus your effort to remove him is not proportional. That's the worst part about Kashibe, is that they can put him back on the board very easily, and it is usually very annoying for you to sculpt something to fix it. So you usually just get tortured by that card. And the problem is in deck 1, leaving empty lanes is a fast way for you to be at level 2 by the end of deck 1. And if your deck isn't really the type of deck that wants to be behind, well, you're gonna be. So it just makes the whole game categorically harder than it needs to be. And as soon as a Chainsaw Man resolves a couple of Secret Alliance combos, and if you can't remove triple Kashibe, they just never clock. They never clock. They don't have to clock. They can fix their deck speed. They can fix their deck with the Brainstorm. And every time they get Secret Revenge again, they just paid for another Brainstorm for free. And then any other Brainstorms they need, whatever. The Aki combo takes 6 stock. That is, and no hand at all. You could have the bar and 1 Aki, and it's guaranteed triple as long as the 2 others are either in the stock or in the waiting room. And any other stock you have can just be used to mash the Brainstorm as many times as it takes to get all of the Akis into the waiting room. Like, it...
And you do need the other Himeno Brainstorm in memory.
If you want to have power.
And hand encore?
Yeah, which, again, like, if you're perma...
It's grief. It's so grief, actually, that it has hand encore when you set up the Himeno. Because, like, you'll be like, all right, triple Aki. Oh, you lived? Oh. Well, I don't care, because I'm going to head encore all of my Akis and do it again.
If I live, you're definitely dead the second time.
Yeah.
So, it's just... There's a very cohesive package here. It's extremely unreasonable in some ways. And you're going to see a lot of effects in Chainsaw Man that are just highly experimental, where they just tried stuff, and a lot of it's very bad. But sometimes when Bushiroad tries stuff, they stumble into something that's obscene, and you just won't see that mechanic ever again, because they'll know. Like, we shouldn't have done that. And this deck is probably in possession of some of those type of mechanics. So,
yep.
I would not recommend max raritying Chainsaw Man. You can if you want. If you love Chainsaw Man, by all means. I wouldn't.
You know, I do have one thing to say about Kashibe. Like, in general, it's kind of like... It feels like there's enough decks that are, like, at 2 the rest of the board, but especially since Slime is super in meta, and even if it got hit, like, you definitely would beat over a 10k, and like, I feel like, I don't know.
You just don't care.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. Part. Yeah. Like, that's the thing about it.
If they get over it at 2, great. You want it off the board anyway. Like, now I can get the rest of my easy revenges.
Yep.
And like, it says something about a set when they have a card that climax swaps from the deck. You literally go into the deck to get the other climax, and then you take the one you're swapping and you put it in the deck. You just swap. It doesn't matter as long as there's one in the deck somewhere, and you get punished not at all. And that card is like, oh yeah, by the way, it's got that. Like, that's the type of unique experimenting we're dealing with here, where we're like, they're just going in every direction with cards. And
yeah, anybody want to take our bars and exchange them for stock souls? Anybody? We want to take our non-plussing trigger out of the deck, put a plussing trigger back into the deck so that we can trigger it again.
It's absolutely disgusting. And what's crazy is that, like, I do not believe this deck will last long in the meta. I believe that Bushiroad will come down swiftly after they see Chainsaw Man in every single top 4 for every single regional, and it'll be like 3 of the 4 teams, I'm guessing. But
it's the new Alice wave.
It's just, yeah.
It happened once, it'll happen again.
Yeah. And so we're
every Springfest team will be like this. We have a Chainsaw Man, or like all the topping ones for the most part. We have a Chainsaw Man player. We have a Slime player.
And then something.
And then we have something. Probably a Hololive player. Like, that team, any team that looks like that, color me unsurprised whenever it wins.
Yeah. And there will... Even... This deck is not going to last in the meta. If it does, it's very grief. But even after it kind of goes away, assuming they did a similar restrict to the one they did in Japan for this set recently, still reasonable, still can win.
Yeah,
like, they just kept going and added other parts.
Or they just pivoted to just like the door choice
There
thing.
is a level 3 in this set that literally can come on the board. All you have to do is put the Ricky into clock, and you can early play it.
Hear me out. The Ricky clock's from waiting room.
Correct. And
if you thought that was a problem,
yeah,
it does.
We assure you it is not.
Yeah.
And then on top of all that,
it gets its own climax.
Right, which is a door.
Yeah.
And then when you play the door and it attacks, you reveal the top, and as long as it's not a climax, you pick one of your opponent's guys and put them in the dumpster, and then you get 2k power. So if your opponent thought that they were going to stay on the board, they won't. And you will just shove all their shit into the waiting room. And this can target the back row. So if you had any sort of like standby level 3 whatever support, nope, you're not getting those either. Those go right in the waiting room. And that's talk about packages that just contain themselves. To run this, you literally can run one door and for this guy, and you're there. And you get to just take the whole board and seize grip of it. Like, it's just so obnoxious.
Yep.
But, and the fact that can't even crack into their meta deck is just like astounding. So yeah, look forward to never liking to see any Chainsaw Man deck get revealed, even pre-restrict, post-restrict, won't matter. Whatever they do, it won't be fun. But all of their other finishers are crazy. Well, if you like, even if you're not gonna play this set, you should look at some of the level 3s and the way they're worded.
Yeah, the choice one.
They're just psychopathic.
On reverse, pay 2 ditch 2, or is it pay 2 ditch 1? Burn 2, and then it does it on the other turn as well, right?
Yes, the Denji.
Yeah, Denji.
Yeah. So he's pay 2 and pitch 2 on reverse to burn 2, and then you top deck your opponent's character.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you burn 1.
Oh, that's right. It
On
also
attack,
burns 1.
Burn 1, and then...
Oh, the burn 1 is costless, too.
Yeah.
So you always get the burn 1.
Correct.
Okay.
And then pay 2, pitch 2 on reverse to burn 2 and top deck.
Which means you can guarantee the next burn 1.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is an 11k with heal.
Yeah.
So, totally reasonable. Nothing wrong with this combo. It takes reverse, but reverse is possible. So, yeah, there's gonna be plenty of room to play Chainsaw Man regardless of what happens.
Yep.
Like, they're gonna have there's gonna be a Chainsaw Man deck.
Yep.
Probably in the meta for a while. So.
And that's our deck of the week. And with that, once again, good luck to everybody at BSF Ontario, not Canada, specifically California.
Correct.
In case you were griefed by
There are
that.
2 Ontario CAs apparently.
Oh, are there two? Oh, true. Yeah. So the one in California. Good luck, and we'll have our next episode will be right before our spring regional that we're planning on going to. So last little bit of preparations and commiserating over the 8 Chainsaw Man decks in top 8 or whatever. I'm so curious. It feels like it's either gonna be 8 Chainsaw Man in top 8, or just to grief everybody, there's only 1 or 2, and then everybody's like, wait, what happened? You know.
I'm never surprised by Springfest. People play with their heart in Weiss, and so I will not be surprised to see whatever's there.
True.
But Ontario will be our first crack at what is going to ostensibly be the meta for at least a little while. So we'll get to see what people think, at least in some way, about this new meta. We've added 1 peak meta, 1 near peak meta set to the mix, and so maybe we'll do a little spy discussing during our next episode, so that people can be familiar with the forgers and how they behave.
Yeah. But with that will be our show for today, so tune in next time after your next deck out, and don't you forget to take the refresh point.